Welcome back to the Red Elevator, guys. I'm so excited to see all of you today, especially because we're going to be talking about kitchens, my favorite topic of all time. And as you guys know, I have been lucky enough to design some of the most luxurious kitchens around the world, to be exact, and they are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars when you really put time and effort and money into the kitchen. And I'm about to save you a ton of money by telling you what not to buy. Because here's the truth. The kitchen industry is selling you expensive solutions to problems you don't actually have. Now stick around to the very end because number 10 is probably the most important $6,000 mistake that I see over half of my clients almost make. But luckily I saved them just in time. And I'll also show you the $400 alternative that's actually better. As many of you know, I'm Nina, and for the past decade, I've worked with clients who spare no expense, and I mean no expense, on their dream kitchens. And you know what I've learned? The most expensive gadget isn't always the smartest choice. In fact, some of the biggest, priciest items end up being the biggest regrets. Today, I am pulling back the curtain on 10 kitchen gadgets that brands are pushing hard, but that I actively talk my clients out of. And the reason is that I've always wanted to be very transparent with you guys. I want you to guys be very smart with your hard-earned money. And trust me, after you hear why, you'll thank me when you're not staring at a $10,000 paperweight in 5 years. But before we dive in, if you want more honest design advice that actually saves you money and creates a kitchen you'll love for a lifetime, or at least for a few decades, not just until the next trend, hit that subscribe button because it means the world to me, to my team, and everybody who works so hard to bring you the content that hopefully will inspire you to have a beautiful life. All right, let's start with the biggest offender, built-in coffee makers. Now, this one is going to sting for some of you. Don't get me wrong, I have a built-in coffee maker and I do use it daily. However, if you guys are not coffee drinkers, unless you are grinding 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day, there's no reason why you should be spending anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000 on a coffee maker that's built in your kitchen because it takes up a lot of space. Now, here's what the salesperson won't tell you, and here's what I am telling you. They require professional maintenance. We have ours serviced once a year, which is very expensive. I think we pay around $600 to $800 every year to service the coffee maker. You always have to have coffee at hand. Like you can't run out of the beans, so you got to make sure that you have enough beans at all times. And you are now married to one system. Something else nobody will tell you, and speaking of coffee, I just have, someone just brought me a beautiful warm cup of coffee because I really needed it. So people will not tell you that you can't really roast. I know this sounds crazy, but this is what my service technician told me, that you can't really use oily beans like a French roast because it creates problems within the machinery. So unless you're willing to deal with the headache of servicing, which by the way, you know, it all depends on how much coffee you drink, what you could buy instead is a high quality countertop espresso machine. They range anywhere from $800 to $1,500. They look great, especially if you want ones that are a little bit more, shall we say, old school and silver and cute, like the Breville or the Gaggia. They give you the same quality espresso and you can always upgrade whenever you want. And if it breaks, you replace it. You don't have to call a technician and spend, you know, anywhere from $600 and up per visit. So again, something to think about as to not purchase something that you just want for show, but purchase something that you're actually going to be using regularly. Now back to the techie realm of kitchen gadgets, let's talk about something else that's convenient but ends up being a huge headache. Touchless or over-engineered faucets. This is a very good idea in retrospect. You know, the motion sensor in your kitchen faucet, it sounds futuristic, right? It sounds like it's going to be perfect. Wave your hand, water flows, what's the problem? But in reality, these sensors can be incredibly tricky and finicky. They don't register when your hands are full. They turn on when you're just reaching for something nearby. and the batteries die at the most inconvenient times. Now, when they malfunction, which many do, you pay a premium for repair because of all the integrated electronics. So what to buy instead? I'm a huge advocate for a timeless classic look. I've been using Rejuvenation's pieces in a lot of my recent projects, especially in the burnished brass, because it just wears so beautifully. In fact, I'm going to have I think we should do a YouTube in this kitchen. I just thought about this out loud while I'm talking to you guys. So we're going to take you on tour of a kitchen we just recently finished, where we use an old school bridge faucet of all things because it has a lot of history and works beautifully and will never be faulty because it just doesn't have the technology. You get full control, they last for decades, and repairs are straightforward and inexpensive. I always tell my clients simple mechanics age better than complex electronics in wet environments. And I'll link the exact one that I have below that I placed in that Rejuvenation project, which had a separate handheld spray, which I really love. And it gives you less of the ability to have a faulty faucet if the spray is not integrated in the faucet. Small caveat I want to share with you. Whenever you get one other thing that I really want to share with you regarding faucets that I think is very important is that when you buy your faucet, make sure none of the components are plastic. You wouldn't know by looking at it, but you would know by reading it and touching it. If you tap your fingernails on it, you'll know if it's metal or if it's plastic. A lot of high-end, very expensive faucets have the very end of the spout in plastic coated in metal, but that will eventually peel off and look like absolute hell. So I definitely recommend that if you're going to get the spout that integrates the spray, that you check the quality of that spray to make sure it's not plastic or doesn't have any plastic components. Or what you can also do is use a spout that's separate from your faucet that you pull out of your deck and use as a spray for the rest of your kitchen basin. Hope that makes sense. Electric salt and pepper grinders. Guys, I have one, but there's only one that really works. The majority of them don't work. And I will link the one that I have. It's the most inexpensive one of them all that actually works. But if you're going to invest a lot of money in the battery operated grinders, which they are everywhere, I genuinely don't really understand their appeal because they happen to be slow and they burn through batteries like crazy and you have zero control over the grind. So if you have to have it, I would just get the inexpensive model so you get your thrills and maybe just do it for pepper, I don't know. But instead, a really good manual grinder by Peugeot is probably the best thing to use. Every chef in America and in France and everywhere else in the world uses the Peugeot grinders. And also Le Creuset makes an exceptional one that lasts generations. So although it's fun to get the battery operated pepper grinder, they're just really not that functional and they're not really great for control. So the classic French design will never go out of style if you get the Peugeot one, which we will link in the description section. I would much rather spend a couple $100s on something that's going to last me a few decades than something that's more of a gadget. Now, this next one might be controversial, but stay with me because I promise it'll change how you think about counter space. Knife blocks. I know every kitchen seems to have one, but as an interior designer, the knife blocks kill me. I've even seen the fancy knife blocks that are made of, I don't know, this silvery thing, and then they have these little black metal things, and then you put the knife in it. I just find them to be very unattractive. There's no reason why the knives need to be out on the counter. Just place them in a drawer. Get a drawer organizer, put the sharp knives in the organizer, and tell the kids to stay out of that particular section. So instead, you can also have, by the way, a dedicated knife organizer. These are blocks that are made from Rev-A-Shelf. I'm going to link them in the description section. I find them to be very useful. We put them in many projects. So essentially it's a knife block, so it protects little fingers. You place it in a drawer, you cut it to size. It's made to fit in almost any drawer, and then you place your knives in them. You're able to keep track of them as well, because as you know, for some reason knives disappear, who knows? But it just makes it a lot more curated, it makes it a lot cleaner, and it just makes the organization, in my opinion, much better. This is exactly the kind of detail I walk through with my private clients during our one-on-one design consultations. We go room by room, and I help you identify what's worth investing in and what just ends up eating away at your budget for no reason. If you're planning a kitchen renovation, for example, or a bathroom remodel, whatever it may be, and want to optimize what you already have, well, I actually give 25-minute or longer Zoom consultations, which have been extremely successful, and I have been overbooked because so many of you have found them helpful. We have basically saved you a ton of money, which I really appreciate doing. And all you have to do is click the link in the description section. My Zoom calendar pops up, and then we can have a consultation one-on-one to discuss your project needs. Okay, let's keep going because number 5 is one that drives me absolutely batty. If you love breakfast, you've probably been tempted by this next gadget. Dedicated omelet makers. Well, these single-use appliances, now it doesn't necessarily have to be the omelet maker. It could be the omelet maker, it could be the waffle maker, it could be something that's very specific. And these single-use appliances, they promise the perfect omelet or they'll promise the perfect item that you're trying to make. But they're very bulky, they take up so much space, they're slow, and they do one thing and one thing only. And as a organization queen and someone who loves to have a great use of space, we want to be able to be smart with our spacing and not use something that is specifically just for one particular recipe or for one particular food group. So a good pan makes just as many good omelets, and scrambled eggs and frittatas and sauteed vegetables and anything else that you can think of. So I always recommend investing in one really good nonstick pan, for example, from ScanPan or All-Clad. All of my pans are All-Clad. I also have a couple other brands that I really do enjoy, and we just alternate between them. I always make sure that they are eco. I don't want any Teflon going into my food and killing my family. And I just don't want clutter. So as much as people love buying these single-use pans, I just think that they are a waste of space. Okay, staying on the same theme of organized, oversized single-use items, another one that kills me is the fancy salad spinner. And for whatever reason, I don't find them to be at all useful. Yes, it takes the majority of the water out, but then the lettuce leaves are also still wet. Just grab your kitchen towel, put your lettuce, and then roll it like you would a roulette and let the leaves dry naturally or just air them dry. I find the salad spinners to take a lot of space. Sometimes the old school method, guys, really is the best. I'll link some of my favorite kitchen towels from Amazon below that are actually absorbent. I am just having the worst time with these microfiber cloths that first of all feel like your nail is scratching. Does that ever happen to you guys with those microfiber cloths? You just feel like your nails are scratching on the, I get the chills. But I like something that is absorbent, so I will link my favorite ones because I've tried them all below in the description section in case you need them. And since so many of you asked today, I am wearing these new jeans from Fabrique. They are very thin, very soft, very comfortable, and my top is also from Fabrique. My belt is Jacquemus, and I'm wearing Chanel ballet flats. My earrings are Anina Bing. Now let's talk about something that looks beautiful but is a cleaning nightmare. Okay, decorative beverage dispensers with hard to clean spigots. What do I mean by that? These big glass dispensers with little spigots at the bottom, they're Instagram gold, right? Perfect for garden parties and Sunday brunches, but those little things are impossible to clean. They clog, they develop mold in the mechanism, and they leak after a few months. So say goodbye to those. I've also seen a lot of water bottles that do not open properly, so it's really hard to get inside of them. And just for the holidays, from my cousin, I received a water bottle that I really enjoyed, and I thought I would share it with you in this episode, is at the bottom of the water, the stainless steel water bottle opens. And what happens is that you can really clean the water bottle out beautifully. So it was sort of a gag gift, but that was her favorite item that she got last year that she really used daily. And I've been using mine and I love it. And the fact that it doesn't have a spill, when you drink out of it, it doesn't spill everywhere. This water bottle was genius. I'm gonna link it. So what to use instead? Just use simple glass pitchers. They're timeless, they go in the dishwasher, and you can see exactly what you're pouring. If you want that elevated look, get a beautiful crystal or artisan glass pitcher. It'll always look more sophisticated anyway, and you won't be scrubbing mold out of a tiny spout with a pipe cleaner. While we're on the topic of things that look organized but aren't actually functional, let's talk about spice towers and spinning racks with pre-labeled jars. So these seem like such a good idea. Everything labeled, everything visible, perfectly organized, but here's a problem. They come with spices you'll never use, and they take up precious counter or cabinet space. And those pre-labeled jars, well, they're rarely airtight, so your spices go to waste and they become stale. This is what you need to do instead. Use slim shelf risers or shallow drawer inserts from Revishelf, for example, and uniform jars that you buy and that you can label yourselves. So don't buy the pre-made ones, those are a complete waste, but curate and make your own like I have done in my home. And make sure that you buy plenty of jars because as you add to your spices, you'll be able to keep the jars uniform. Now, here's a small but perfect example of single-use clutter. For example, cherry pitters, olive pitters, yes, they're specialized, yes, they work, but you know what else works? A knife and a spoon, or even just your thumb for softer fruits. So these tools do one thing, and unless you're running a cherry pie factory out of your home, you don't need a dedicated gadget for something as small as that. What I like to do is really master the ability to use a paring knife beautifully, because with a paring knife, you can cut any fruit, you can peel an entire apple, you can pit things. It's one of those multi-use knives that does 25 things at once. And if you guys master the paring knife, you're going to be on top of it, a great cook. And finally, the biggest, most expensive mistake I see people make, are you guys ready for this? Please don't do this, are the smart fridges with those big touch screens. So here it is, the $6,000 mistake. Thinking that these refrigerators are going to save you. They'll be able to help you purchase items when you run out of them. However, the technology just isn't there yet. It might be one day, but not at the moment. They look incredible in the showroom with all the glitz and the glamour, but the reality is you're never going to look up a recipe on your refrigerator. It's just not going to happen. And here you have this technology that you have overpaid for. Also, take into account that the technology will be outdated long before the refrigerator dies, hopefully, if it's a good quality refrigerator. And so what happens to this large touch screen? Nothing. It just sits there without the ability to use it, and it'll just look outdated. So you're stuck with a slow, obsolete software that can't be upgraded running on a $4,000+ appliance. So steer away from that. And if the screen breaks, repairs are going to be extremely expensive. What to buy instead? I always say, buy a high quality refrigerator that is in the lines of Sub-Zero, of course, which is the gold standard, Jenn Air, which is made by Whirlpool, a very great product, and LG or even a Samsung without the smart screen. You know, all of these refrigerators, you need to do your own research and see which one you're interested in, but they are very straightforward, old school. You can certainly get a panel-ready refrigerator so it blends with your cabinetry, which is the way I like to do it. But I stay away from things that have too many bells and whistles because in the end, they just don't operate. A clean, handless fridge front is definitely and infinitely more timeless than something with the potential to even get a ton of fingerprints. That's a $4,000 to $6,000 savings right there. And you'll actually have a better, more functional kitchen. So there you have it, 10 kitchen gadgets that the industry is pushing hard, but that I actively steer my clients away from. The common thread essentially is they're all expensive solutions to problems that have simpler, more elegant, long-lasting answers. And there is something to be said about going back to basics and going back to the old school methods and buying things that have longevity. In the way that I live my life and the way that I, even with my fashion, I always say I'm not rich enough to buy Zara. What does that mean? Well, if you buy one Zara item, it's not going to last you as long as something that perhaps is much higher quality. So what is the use? What is the wear of that item? Maybe you'll wear it 4, 5, 6 times and then it'll just fall apart if you're lucky. But if you buy something of true quality, then you'll have that for decades. So it is in fact a lot more expensive to buy Zara than something of much better quality. So the best kitchens aren't about having every gadget, they're about having the right tools, the ones that work hard, last long, and make your space feel intentional instead of cluttered. If this saved you from making a costly mistake, hit that like button. And if you want more honest advice regarding design, the kind that'll save you money and help you create a home that you genuinely love, well, would be elated if you subscribe, because I'm just getting started, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you again on the Red Elevator next week.